All right, my apologies. I literally tried everything I could tonight to live stream. There were technical issues, stuff way out of my control. I'll try and fix them by next game, but for right now, this is a taped version, live to drive version of my post-game comments. Let's talk Sharks. Let's not talk YouTube. First statement win of the season tonight. Not their first one of the season, but the first one that really felt like it had something packaged with it. Also their first regulation win of the season, which is equally important when you consider you're going up against a team like Minnesota. They might be there at the end in the playoff hunt for one of the final spots in the West. So just an all-around encouraging night for Team Teal. And you know, I say statement win because this thing wasn't certain. They didn't score first. They did get the next three, but then they allowed two, so it was a 3-3 game. Third period is where the game was really decided, and they made the statement to come out on the right side. I've realized, and let me set my 10-minute timer here as I normally do on the live stream, because otherwise, you know, I'll go 35 minutes. Nothing's going to come easy this season. That's becoming more clear to me with every game that gets played, and for good and for bad, right? Because the Sharks may not enjoy a lot of one-sided blowout wins this year. It just may not happen, especially with the realignment and the teams that are in this West and all the odds against everybody playing during a pandemic. They may not have a lot of one-sided wins. But on the flip side, I don't know that there's going to be a lot of games where you can instantly count them out of it either. So they're going to be in a lot of hard games, like close, tough, could go either way games. They're going to either need to find the ways to win, you know, or on occasion, I mean, they're going to find ways to lose. But again, statement win tonight for a couple different reasons. I mentioned the comeback ability of the game, but how about this overall big picture on this road trip for the Sharks? And you know, they had split the Arizona series and they had split the St. Louis series. And to drop the first one in Minnesota, and it was really a 2-1 game, and 4-1 was the final score, the two empty netters. It didn't really reflect the game. But to be able to stay 500 now heading into the next stop on the road trip, which is Colorado, right? A very tough Avs team and assignment. And then after that, you're going to go on and face another tough squad in Las Vegas. So to stay 500 right now, this was really a fork in the road. And I'm telling you, if they didn't win tonight, you don't get the points, and all of a sudden now you're fighting, you're having to play exceptionally well to just get back to 500. Instead, here they are at 500. And another thing too that I thought was a statement was coming off a pair of games where they had just one goal each. Right? And in that St. Louis game, it's easier to forget. It was a defensive game, and that's fine. And I know it was a 2-1 Sharks win, but that means they only had one goal in regulation because the other one was via the shootout. And their loss in Minnesota in Game 1 only scored one goal. So to get 5 different goals tonight from 5 different goal scorers tonight, you know, again, part of the statement that this team made. And also, Brent Burns, are you serious? I mean, the hands, the finish, the aggressiveness on that game-winning goal. He had 5 wild skaters, like, kind of sitting around watching him. And I don't want to say that they were sitting around. Like, he dangled them. They tried. They were trying to get their sticks in there. And then the finish, backhand, top shelf, unreal. And the reaction from him, all the smiles afterwards, I mean, they totally fit the scene because, wow. Brent Burns has 212 now career goals. 212. And we've seen a lot of them, right, in San Jose. But the one tonight has to be, it's got to be top 5. Maybe top 3, right? It's definitely up there in terms of the meaning of the goal, but also the skill of the goal scored. So for a lot of reasons tonight, I'm trying to take the 35,000-foot view of this game and this statement win. And I'll say it again, too, a night where, you know, the Sharks had 2 prior wins this season, but this is the first time they won in regulation. The other team gets no points. That is so important. Maybe not so much against a Las Vegas. Like, they're going to have a great season. And a St. Louis, they're going to have a great season. And probably Colorado, they're destined to likely have a great season. But the other teams that you're going to fight for a playoff spot against, Arizona and Minnesota specifically, and not to dismiss Anaheim or Los Angeles, but these are the games where you cannot allow the opponent to get points. So you need all of them, and you need them to get none of them. Love the fact that the former Wild player Burns got the game winner. Love the fact that Ryan Donato got the Sharks' first goal tonight. And let's just go period by period. The Wild scored on their first shot of the game. That's another thing. I talk about some of the adversity that the Sharks were up against in this one. It didn't have the feel of a great start. And the first period ended up not being bad. In fact, look at the shot clock. It was 12-3. Sharks after 20 minutes. I'll be honest, it did not feel like that in watching the game play out, but that's what it was. And I said too, in the first period, the Sharks did have a power play chance on an interference call, and they didn't capitalize. And I'm thinking, man, it's been now a couple games where they don't have a power play goal. And it would be really nice if they could get one on the man advantage. Well, sure enough, Kevin Fiala takes a penalty 5 minutes into the second period, and Evander Kane gets him a lead on the power play. Great takeaway by Ryan Donato, fed Timo Meier, nice little drop pass for a one-timer for Evander Kane, 2-1. Noah Gregor also in the second period. And let's talk about second periods for just a second. That's been a rough spot for this team, getting heavily outscored in the middle frame for whatever reason. Kind of unexplainable, in a lot of ways why the second periods would be so rough. But they have been. Not tonight. Sharks outscored the Wild 2-1. And I know it was almost 2-2, but that Bjugstad goal that was disallowed, it had to get disallowed. You cannot shovel Martin Jones and his pad and the puck past the goal line all at the same time, right? So good on the Sharks that they had a good middle frame. Noah Gregor in a 3-on-2 situation, was it Gambrell and I think Timo on the ice with them at the same time? Just the total look off, looking at them, shooting the puck, able to get that first goal of the season. So happy for Noah Gregor there. Yeah, and like I said, to reverse the trend of bad second periods and rough second periods, great tonight that also happened. Now, there is kind of a negative here to point out, right? After the third period, at some point in the third period, you had a 3-1 lead. The Wild get the last one of the period. So now it's 3-2 going into the dressing room, but it was the Kevin Fiala goal, the one-timer is 7 minutes, 7 and change into the third period, just right off the draw, and goaltending has been pretty good for the Sharks this year. Take away the stats because those are, goals against, in my opinion, and save percentage. It's a combination of individual and team stats. Like how the team helps you in front largely depends on what a goaltender can do. And I honestly think that goalies have held their own. I don't think Dubnyk or Jones have been great yet. Like they haven't, not a fair word. They have not been exceptional yet, but they have not been bad yet, with the exception of this Kevin Fiala goal. Jones probably saw it all the way, and it was a one-timer, and granted, I'm here saying this as a person who would never step in front of an NHL one-timer. I would not, even with full pads on. It's just it's not for me. So who am I to critique Martin Jones in this? But yeah, that's probably one that Jones would have wanted back. And I got to say, if you're going to call it a soft goal, I don't know how many others opponents have scored on San Jose this year that have been soft. So let's just establish it. Let's look at it. Those are going to happen. Let's get it out of the way. But that's not happening a lot this season, which is great. The Brent Burns goal, I mean, I'm happy for Burnsy. I'm happy in that a defenseman gets a critical goal like that. We're looking for a varied scoring attack by the Sharks. And by all means, you got it tonight. 5 different goal scorers. And, you get a Kane in there. You get a Gregor and a Donatos. You get some top 6 guys going. You get a third liner scoring a goal. You get Nieto, the empty netter. Okay, fine. But you get a defenseman also scoring a goal in Brent Burns. Didn't look like a D-man, did he? Looked like Look like a forward. And that's another thing. That is another thing. How many defensemen in the league do what Burnsy did? How many? That move. Not many. And that's, look, I know the debate once existed, and maybe in some people's mind it still exists. Where is Brent Burns most valuable to your team? Is he a forward really, or is he a defenseman? Look, this is the beauty. He confuses you, right? Like, have him as a defenseman, but know that he can do things that forwards do, and not many players can do both. So, that right there, I love the way he took the game into his own hands right there. You know what's weird about this? Since I'm recording this, and there's been all these YouTube issues tonight, I keep looking over at the screen like, wonder what the comments are saying. I want to play off some of the comments, and then I realize no, the comments are not actually there because you're not live right now. You're just recording on a hard drive. So, and on that note, I only have a couple more things to say, just kind of wrapping up here. I mean, the Sharks scored in every period again, got back on the power play train of scoring goals, and like I said, this was just a huge win. Coming off, and let's throw more adversity out there. Let's be very real about this. The Sharks just found out as a team yesterday, and I think we all had the idea this would probably happen, but it became official that the 2 home games they were supposed to play, February 1st and 3rd, they're not going to be home. And that means this team is now continuing on the road for another 10 days, even beyond that. The next chance to play a home game is February 13th. So now we're guaranteed this team to be on the road for 6 weeks minimum to start their season. I'm going to keep saying this because I know players are too humble, they're too proud, they're too respectful to complain. And I get it, we're in a pandemic. And these guys are making a great living playing a game that they love. Here's the timer. All right, there's my 10 minutes, but I'll be wrapping up soon. It's hard to compare what everybody in the world is going through right now to NHL players who have to be on the road, like as the biggest deal. But I want to establish that first, but I also want to maintain this. No NHL player is meant to do a road trip like they are really even for 2 weeks, let alone 6 weeks, let alone it could be longer than that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell Santa Clara County what to do or not. But I am familiar with athletes. I am familiar with family situations. I am familiar with, really the mental anguish that goes with these guys doing the best they can in being responsible on the road, meaning that they can't fraternize with, is that the right word? Fraternize? They can't hang out with their teammates. Fraternize. They can't hang out with their teammates in different hotel rooms. They can't do it. So they're isolated. They're very lonely on these road trips. The most normal thing they have is going out and playing hockey games and going to practice when it's time for that. But even that time is limited on purpose. They don't want a lot of exposure between human beings. And I get it. I'm just saying that having that news come down yesterday officially, coming back with this type of win today, step back and think about this from a bigger picture perspective. I know a lot of fans just think that, you don't really pay attention to everything until the game's on. And then once the game's on, you pay full attention. I'm here to say, put yourself in their shoes and in their skates for just a second to understand what's really going on here, and why a game and like a win like tonight was so critical. So that is going to do it for this not live stream. This has totally been recorded. I will flash the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube promotions up on the screen. Please subscribe. Just subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. I do a bunch of these Sharks videos. Usually they're live. I'll figure out what was going on with my little streaming setup here. I'm so frustrated by that. I honestly have no clue what the deal was, but it didn't work. But you know what? That's okay. The Sharks worked tonight. I had fun covering this game. Again, first regulation win of the season, first statement win of the season, most dynamic and hopeful win of the season. The road from here gets tougher, right? The next 4 games, very difficult in terms of who the opponents are. But you love this kind of momentum going into those. So that's it for tonight. I appreciate you guys hanging with me here and watching this instead of the live stream. I'll have it fixed hopefully by next time. and I will see you then. Should I play you out? Should I do that? Yeah, I'll do that. Good night. Good night. Good night again. No, seriously, good night.